Hi guys. Curly, Rach, Lovebug, Mika, Pink. Oh, hey Pink. Not seen you for a while. Hello, Miss Maddie. Hello, Miss Maddie. Hello, Mr. Scooby-Doo. Hi, boys and girls. How are we? Hello. Come say hello. No? You all want to say hello? Okay. What about you, Mr. Boo? Do you want to say hello? Aroo. Aroo. Good boy. Hey, Pam. Right. Okay. Before we do anything, let me get this absolutely clear. All opinions put forth in this video are mine and mine alone from my experience. If you disagree, that's fine. There is no right way or wrong way of doing this, okay? I just have opinions on what I think is the best way for a beginner to approach it, and therefore that is the advice I give. If you don't like that advice, that's fine. There's a whole plethora of other witchy people out there who can give you advice. I highly recommend Kellyanne Maddox. She's fabulous. Go and start with her. Today we're going to talk about Book of Shadows. Now I'm calling it Book of Shadows, but this applies to any book of spiritual or scientific whatever that you happen to be interested in. Over on my site we refer to it as BOS, but that encapsulates Book of Shadows, Book of Spirit, Book of Bible Study, Book of Science, Book of General Study, all sorts of things. People call it what they want to call it, okay? There is an old wives' tale, not so old really, that in the old days, witches kept books where they kept all their secret knowledge and stuff, and etc. Well, sorry, but no. Not unless you're a millennial and the old days is the 1970s, alright? In the old days, most people couldn't read and write. And those who could were very well educated and wrote mostly in Latin. So, forget that, okay? That is a myth propagated by Wiccans. I have nothing against Wiccans, okay? But Wiccan is a new religion. And it is a religion. It started in the 1950s and it's very popular and there's nothing wrong with it, etc, etc. However, it is a religion and they do tend to say an awful lot of stuff that isn't actually true. Like, in the old days, witches kept books of shadows. No, they didn't. In the old days, witches were people who grew up in the countryside, often, not always, but often, because in the old days most things was countryside, and they learned to make home remedies from things that were around them. If you think witchcraft is all about what's her face with a twitchy nose, you know, and Charmed and all that crap, you don't know what witchcraft is, okay? So if that's what you think witchcraft is, go on Pinterest, look up lots of pretty pages and copy them into your Book of Shadows and call it a Book of Shadows and you're done, okay? That's not what witchcraft is. Witchcraft is not just wishing that things happen, okay? It is a combination of various different practices depending on what you believe. If you have religious beliefs in gods and goddesses, it may include prayer or rituals or sacrifices, but no, we're not devil worshippers, okay? We tend to sacrifice things like honey to the fairies to stop them stealing our shiny stuff. You know, stuff like that. For those who think that witchcraft is all about the devil, you're wrong too. We don't believe in the devil. God created the devil. God created Lucifer. We don't believe in God, therefore we don't believe in anything he created either. We believe in nature. We believe in the universe. We believe in the universal energy that flows through all things. It's known in many ways and many forms. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Some people call it Qi. Some people call it the I Ching. Is that the... No, the I Ching calls it something. I can't remember what it's called. But, you know, there's all these different religions and philosophies, for want of better words, that believe that everything is connected, that, you know, there's things like karma and stuff like that. And really, when you boil it all down to it, it comes down to look after yourself, look after everybody else, and try not to fuck up the planet while you're at it. That's what most religions and philosophies come down to. So, that aside, witchcraft is not about... Let me rephrase that. What it is about is using natural resources that you have around you in order to affect or effect change in your life. It's not about waving a magic wand and saying Avada Kedavra or whatever it is and boom. Okay? Harry Potter, not magic. It's fantasy. Okay? He's a fictional character. Get your priorities straight. The original women who were burned as witches and persecuted as witches were simply people who refused to convert to Christianity, followed the pagan ways, were often a little bit weird, so people didn't like them, and they were usually, but not often, not always, herbalists and midwives. Oh, I've been feeling terribly poorly lately. I've got a really bad throat and I feel really lethargic. So you go and see old Mrs. Cobbler up the road, and old Mrs. Cobbler, who's a known witch, gives you a remedy or potion, and you go home and you take the remedy or potion and you get better. Excellent. The witch has cured your illness. Therefore, to your mostly uneducated and not very experienced brain, back in the several hundred years ago, rather, if you get sick again, surely that must be her fault. She cursed you. It's logical. Magic is just science we don't understand. Mrs. Cobbler up the road understood that if she put lemon and honey together and warmed it slightly and said to you, take this home, pop it in your tea 3 times a day, drink it nice and slowly while it's still warm, and your sore throat will be better in a couple of days. And guess what? She was right. And guess what? If you go to the doctor now and say exactly the same thing, oh, I've got a really sore throat, you'll get one of 2 answers. Either, here, have some antibiotics, or go home and drink some hot tea with honey and lemon and it'll clear up in a few days. And if it's really bad, take a couple of paracetamol. Or, you know, Mrs. Cobbler up the road might have said, well, go and chew on some bark, because that will release the same chemicals that are in paracetamol and give you some relief from the pain. It's all just different ways of looking at things, is my point. Because it's all different ways of looking at things, and because no 2 things work the same way for 2 different people, you only have to recommend a fabulous shampoo and conditioner that you've just found that works amazing for your hair, only for her to find out that when she uses it, it made her hair go limp and slack and look crap, to know that two things do not work the same way for two people. And funnily enough, spirituality tends to be the same. Even if you are, say, a Christian and you adhere to Christian beliefs, your experience is not going to be the same as somebody, even in your family, who adheres to the same beliefs, because it's all subjective and it's all to do with how you internalise things. The key correlation between the two being the religion that you believe in or the path that you follow, and the difference being you and somebody else. You do not think the same as somebody else. Even if you're programmed to think like somebody else, you will still have differences of opinion. That's the nature of us, of humans. Therefore, and there is a point, I'm getting to it quite quickly, we're only 12 minutes in. Therefore, just as a Christian will study the Bible and think through passages and wonder how that affects their life and so on and so forth, and have a different answer to the person next to them because their life experiences are different, so too when you work with a particular crystal or use a particular herb, your experiences are going to be different. This is why horoscopes are crap. Because people who don't understand astrology say, oh, well, horoscopes in newspapers are a bunch of crap. Well, yeah, they are a bunch of crap. How can one paragraph of 3 sentences apply to everybody in the country who was born between 2 particular dates? It can't possibly. It's rubbish, okay? Stop listening to that kind of rubbish. But astrology is completely different, and astrology can and does work. Again, it's not predicting the future. It's not like, tarot cards don't tell your fortune. Okay, fortune tellers are people you find in fairgrounds dressed up as gypsies who swindle you out of money and tell you what you want to hear. And they probably told the last person who wanted to hear that exactly the same thing. That's not fortune. That's not what divination is about, okay? In the similar way, if you are a Christian and you believe in God, you don't pray to God that, oh, I can't afford my rent this month, so can you give me 400 quid? That's not how it works. You might say, well, I'm looking for another job because I need some extra cash to afford my rent and my food and things like that, and I could just do with a little bit of guidance or help in finding the right thing, or being there at the right time to get a job that works for me, or just give me a little bit of confidence. If I pray to you in the morning of my interview, just give me that little bit of confidence that I need to be able to nail the interview and get the job. Yeah, that's how it works. And magic is the same. You don't just go, oh, hello tarot cards, tell me my fortune. That's not how it works. You read the cards, and the cards will be interpreted by you or by the reader according to your particular circumstances. Based on your particular circumstances and your current decisions and what you are most likely to decide in the future, where you stand right now, here are potentials and opportunities that lay before you. The minute you deviate from that path, all of those change. Some of them might disappear. Some of them might get suddenly better. They are roadmaps of what you could potentially achieve. And it's all to do with using your subconscious to understand what you really want. Funnily enough, it ties back to that 5 whys question we talked about in bullet journaling. 5 whys. Why do you want to earn some? Why do you want to earn some more money? Because you can't pay your rent. Yeah, but why can't you pay your rent? Because I drink all day and I buy takeouts all week. Okay, so why? Because I'm too lazy to cook. Okay, why? eventually you get to the point where you're like, well, you know, maybe if I cleaned up my eating habits and started saving some money, I could afford my rent. It's helping yourself and understanding what opportunities may be available to you, and looking at things in a way that your subjective mind is already thinking about and saying, hey, hang on a minute, I've had an idea, but it's just sitting there in the background going, yeah, hello, it's not actually at the forefront going, hey, here's what we're going to do. It's just hanging about in the background with a vague idea of what it thinks might work and trying to get your attention. For me, and for a lot of others, and for I think most people who practice any kind of divination magic, tarot and astrology and all that kind of stuff is just about bringing forward your thoughts and emotions. It's effectively a journaling exercise. People ask you questions, you think about them, you answer. You look at certain images and you think, well, okay, what does that mean to me? How would I interpret that? It's just guidance. It's not, oh, look, you're going to meet a tall, handsome stranger the minute you walk out of here. That's not it. In the same way, having a beautifully appointed book of shadows that is beautiful and never has a spelling mistake and blah, 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 and has all the correspondences of everything ever, is not a book of shadows. That's an encyclopedia. A book of shadows is a working book. With the sole exception of if you are a strict Wiccan or you are in a coven. Okay? If that's the case, you are a strict Wiccan or you're in a coven, you will either have a family book of shadows or a coven book of shadows, and part of your learning and initiation process will be to learn those things. Just as, I can't speak for many religions, but as a Catholic we did confirmation and we did, you know, First Communion and all that kind of stuff. It's the same thing. You learn about certain things, and when they feel you understand certain things, then you kind of progress to the next level. Okay? See, there really isn't a lot of difference in any of it. A mirror, yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's showing your subconscious out on the table, because you will see things that you don't realise you see. Why are you drawn to a particular picture? Why are you drawn to a particular colour this week? Why do you suddenly wake up this morning and have a desperate need to wear yellow? Is it because it's midwinter and you're feeling a bit bleh because everything's grey and it's cold? And you're a sunny person? It could well be. That's called colour psychology. Your Book of Shadows is not meant to be this beautifully appointed book that you hand down through the generations and all this kind of stuff. Your Book of Shadows is a workbook. It's supposed to help you to figure out things, to work through things. It's basically a journal of your spiritual path. Just as a study guide or a Bible study book or something like that helps you work through your spiritual path and figure out what you think about things. Now, there are some things that are more cerebral. Obviously, Christianity is very much a philosophical kind of religion where most of it is done up here. There's not an awful lot of practical stuff that you do in Christianity other than going to church and performing rituals, wearing robes and using incense and all that kind of stuff, you know, like we do. Witchcraft is a little bit more hands-on, depending on what you do. You may actively wear or choose crystals. You might work with crystal grids. You might read tarot cards. You might read astrology cards, astrology charts. You might work with runes. You might work with herbs. You might dabble in a bit of everything. You might do candle magic. You might only do rituals. There are lots of different ways of doing things, and you have to find your own way. And that's why I think pagan religions and pagan ways and the old ways and all that kind of stuff, whatever you call it, appeals to so many people, because it is finding your own way, and it is finding a way that works for you. And whether that means taking on certain laws of the group that you belong to, be it the 10 Commandments or the Rule of Three or whatever, or whether it involves you saying, well, okay, I'm a witch and I reserve the right to hex somebody if they desperately need it, but I'm not going to do it in malicious ways just for the hell of it. I will only do it if I feel like somebody needs to be stopped from what they're doing because they're harming someone else that I love. You know, that's a moral code. You have to have a moral code. The fact that a witchcraft moral code is technically more like guidelines is neither here nor there, honestly. If your moral code doesn't say, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want and murder people on the way, then you're not doing that bad, really. Most religions don't actually have that. Even Satanists. I mean, I'll probably get shouted at by the Americans for this, but believe it or not, Satanists, their creed is do what you will. If you actually read up on what they do, it's actually for bettering yourself, for self-empowerment, and so on. At no point does it say anywhere in anything that they do that it's perfectly okay to go out and become a serial killer or something like that, or slaughter babies. That's not part of it. If you firmly believe that that is, then you have a mental health issue. You're not a Satanist. You might be a Satanist as well, but you certainly have something wrong with your head if you think that going out and killing people is okay. It's not okay. Unless, oh, you're doing it in self-defense, then it's okay because the law says so. In some countries. You see, everything is a moral... There is no such thing as a moral code that is specifically black and white. This is okay, this is not. If there was, there wouldn't be 10 commandments. You wouldn't need 10, you'd only need 1. So, in the same way, there is no way that you can create a book of shadows right now, especially as a beginner, knowing very little, that will last you for the rest of your days. It's not possible because you don't know everything. You don't know anything if you're starting out. So my advice to all beginners is the same as it is for journaling. Open a book and start writing. Simple as that. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Don't worry about making it look beautiful. If you are creating a book of shadows so that you can post it on Instagram, I would suggest that perhaps your motives for creating a book of shadows are not quite where they should be. Maybe you need to revisit it. Maybe your talent lies in creating beautiful pages of correspondences and selling them on Etsy, perhaps, if that is your niche. If you want to journal, your goal shouldn't be, oh, I want to create beautiful pages so I can put them on Instagram. If you journal and your pages are aesthetically pleasing and you're happy to share them or whatever, or you feel like what you do could inspire others, whether it's pretty or not, or something like that, then yes, obviously you're going to share some things. I share some things. I don't share everything. I do share more with my class. I don't share everything publicly, but I do share a lot more with my class. But even my class, there's some things I don't show them. Because some things are personal. I think you can forget that in this day and age. There is such a thing as privacy still. And it's up to you to draw that boundary and decide where that privacy should be. So, if you've never had a book of shadows before, here's what I suggest. Get a pen that you like writing with and a decent book that you don't mind writing in. And start journaling. Start with who you are, where you are in your life, the kind of life experiences you've had, whether they be, horrible things that you've had to deal with over the years, or just kind of, actually, had quite a boring life so far, middle-class neighbourhood, nice upbringing, no trouble, never even got a detention. That's perfectly okay to be like that too. Write about you. Because a book of shadows is about your spirituality. It's not a beautifully appointed book that has everything you could ever possibly know about witchcraft in it. It's a journey. Write about you and then write about your spirituality. Where have you come from? Where did you start from? Why did you start out as a Catholic and at the age of 12 decided it wasn't for you? Why have you always gone to church for the last 30 years but suddenly decided that actually you've never really believed in any of that stuff and you don't know why you keep going? You just did it to please your mum, and now your mum's not speaking to you, so to hell with it, you can do what you want to do. Maybe you're in your 60s and thinking, well, I've wasted all my life doing this and this and this and trying it out, and now I've found God and I've decided to study the Bible. Okay, so study the Bible. But where have you come from? Because that experience, that previous life experience, is going to colour the way you read it and the way you interpret it and the way you understand it. And that's why spiritual journeys are called spiritual journeys. They're not called spiritual sit-downs and just do it. It's a spiritual journey. If it's not constantly changing, you're not learning anything. There is nothing wrong with buying sorry, I can't really address questions and talk, so I'll come back to that in a minute. There is nothing wrong with getting a couple of books that really appeal to you and go through them and see what you think. But if you don't review that information and see if it works for you and try it out, you're not really applying it. You're effectively saying, okay, I'm going to learn French. So you sit down and you learn the dictionary and you learn loads and loads of vocab and you learn loads and loads of words, and you know, you can open a word you can open the dictionary at any page and somebody will say, what does this word mean? And you'll be able to translate it just like that. Doesn't mean you can speak French. Just means you know a lot of French words. Correspondences and things should be treated in the same way. And for beginners, I think there's a tendency to take on too much. You don't have to learn all the things today. Because I can honestly tell you that no matter how long you live, you're never going to learn everything. So do what you did at school and pick out the bits that you really like and that really appeal to you. So if you love crystals, or you've already got into crystals, you really like crystals, you've already got some, go and look up the crystals you've already got and work with them. Then get a book about other crystals that might interest you. Or, you know, Google it. You don't need to write everything down in your book of shadows. You can Google stuff. It's allowed. There's an app for that. My rule for my book of shadows is I never write anything in my book of shadows that I already know. Because it's pointless. Why would I do that? That's like starting French A-level and saying, okay, before I start reading the French A-level textbooks, I'm just going to spend a couple of weeks writing out every single thing that I learned in GCSE. What's the point in that? You already know it. You passed the exams. You've done it. It's over with. You know? You're already doing rituals. You're already learning about which incenses work with what elements and all that sort of stuff. Why do you need to write it down? You don't. So if you don't need to write it down, don't write it down. If you don't understand it, that is a key. Or if you can't remember it, like, I have moon phases in my book. Why do I have moon phases? Because I can't remember days, dates, numbers. It's like, even now I couldn't tell you what the next phase of the moon is. And I teach this stuff. I just have a mental block on it. I cannot remember dates and days. But it's okay, because I have an app that tells me when it is. If I knew when the next phase of the lunar calendar was, I wouldn't need to have this telling me when the new phase of the lunar character was. And look how cool it is, though. You can have cool stuff if you don't remember things. That's something that's very important to remember. Now, I'm not going to show you my book of shadows. My book of shadows is personal to me. I don't even show it to my class. Okay, but it looks very much like an awful lot of writing and scribbles and the occasional thing that I printed off the internet. It is a workbook. It looks a lot like my university notes, actually, because I tend to read things, take notes, listen to podcasts, listen to books, check through things, find things on the web. I will read a blog post and think, oh, that's an interesting point, and I'll write down that point and I'll think about it later. Or journal about it later. Why did that come out at me? Why did I think that was an interesting point? What does it change about what I already know, or what I already believe, or what I already think? What does it confirm about what I already think? Okay? That's how I use mine. And this is the one for the class. And we haven't done an awful lot in it, but we've got like monthly astrological transits. So, you know, the famous Mercury retrograde. Is Mercury retrograde? Oh no. If you don't have any Mercury in your chart, you don't need to worry about Mercury retrograde, okay? Just chill. Certain correspondences will affect you more than others. For instance, I have Jupiter in an extremely prominent place in my chart. So anything that that aspects Jupiter in any way is always a major influence in my life. It's not an omen, okay? It's not, you know, it's not fortune telling. It's Jupiter opens doors for this. This planet is causing good vibes with it. Okay, so if I took those two and I put them together, what opportunities can I create for myself, or can I take here? What can I concentrate on that will help me in the long run? Again, it's subjective. It's coming from you. It's not coming from the great light bulb in the sky. It's you interpreting things that you're given, which means it's a subconscious thing. So we look at the transits and we see which ones are relevant. We do things like creative collage, where this is one we did where we were concentrating on how to connect to Earth. Hang on. There we go. We were concentrating on ways to connect with Earth. So I literally just pulled out some collage elements that I thought related to Earth. You know, lying in the grass, walking in sunshine, trees growing, fields, roots, connecting with Earth, connecting to the ground. You can use this in lots of different ways, just as a meditation. You can use it afterwards as a mood board or a meditation board. You can do all sorts of things with it. But at the time of creating, if you are thinking about how to ground to Earth and how to ground yourself, then that's what you are doing through the process of creating the collage. Ways to reconnect with Earth. So we just did a few things that, you know, earthy pursuits that you could do that are practical, that are not, you know, you're not putting on your black pointy hat and whizzing around on a broom. You know, go and do some gardening. Go for a walk in the grass. Take the dogs to the park. Sweep leaves. Make food. Clean. That's all to do with connecting to Earth and home, and, you know, making your domestic space better and all that kind of stuff. We do things like this, where, you know, we write about a particular piece of jewellery or a particular stone or crystal we've got. On this particular day, I had decided I wanted to wear it, and I couldn't even remember what it was called. I had to go and look it up. And then when I looked it up and I realised what it stood for, I realised why I'd felt drawn to it, why the colour had appealed to me that day. And it started to make sense. We've got a monster thing of correspondences that we do. So this is astrological, planets, the wheel of the year, the months of the year, the moons of the year, the 4 elements, the tarot, everything here on one spread. You don't need lots and lots and lots of places of correspondence. You can link it all together. And if some correspondences don't mean anything for you, don't use them, okay? If you're allergic to certain herbs, don't use them. I don't have lavender anywhere near my house because I'm allergic to it. it does not give me peaceful thoughts and restful sleep. It gives me migraines. So if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Don't force it. The whole point of the old religions are that you work with nature. You don't force it into a little box and say, you're going to be like this for me. That's not what it's about. And that's not what Book of Shadows is about. Your Book of Shadows is where you work through things and where you record your practices. I record oracle readings, for instance. I encourage my students to make art about various different things that come up. This was when we were doing Virgo as an archetype. So the Virgin Warrior Maiden, you know, the Diana in all of us. How does that fit? What does that mean to you? What does it relate to within you? And you can make art about it like I do, like this, or you can, you know, when I'm making art about something like this, I'm thinking about it. I'm concentrating on it because I have to decide what to put in the picture. So I think about, you know, when I think of a warrior, what do I think of? I don't think of somebody who fights. What I think of as a warrior is somebody who is strong and protective and stands their ground. For me, a warrior is a defender who stands up for what they believe and is unshakable. Not somebody who goes out fighting things and causing a ruckus. That's not a warrior to me. I record bits and pieces of recipes and things. This is actually a recipe out of a book. It was a herbal wine. It's actually like mulled wine. But because of the various different herbs and things that are in it, if you look up the various different herbs, they actually stand for certain things, and it all corresponds to Mabon. So this is actually a winter or harvest drink. So what could you use it for? Well, you could use it in your rituals. You could use it for your celebratory dinner. You could just use it as a winter warmer when you feel a little bit down and you need a pick-me-up, you know? Mabon herbs, we made an incense with the same herbs to put on our, well, if you have an altar. I don't particularly have an altar. I have a shelf on top. That's my altar. I have a shelf on top of my thing where I burn incense and put candles and occasionally put crystals and stuff. I had a mood board. I haven't finished this. I haven't done anything. I haven't finished this page. I haven't started this page yet. I saved pictures of a mood board of the kind of, I don't want to say aesthetic, because aesthetic is specifically looks. Ambience. The ambience that I wanted to create in my studio. So I pulled out various different pictures that didn't look necessarily like what I wanted, but had the feeling of what I wanted to create. And yes, I'm going to do a studio tour, but I'm not doing it till after I put my Christmas decorations up, and I don't put my Christmas decorations up until the 14th. So you're going to have to wait. Sometimes I do art journaling about a specific oracle card that came up. This was a general thing about in terms of your art and your creativity, what could we all do that would make the world a slightly better place this week? Because it was a really bad week. There was all sorts going on. And we pulled the Share Your Gifts card. And on the back of it, one of the things it said was, everyone benefits from your art, especially you. Your unique gifts are meant to be shared. So we spent a week sharing our art and making the effort to say, look, we've done stuff, we've made stuff. Look at this, isn't it pretty? And those who weren't able to make pretty stuff, guess what? They did. They went over on Instagram and they shouted out other people who make pretty stuff that they appreciate, which is just as good, you know, spreading things. I showed you this the other day. This is my Moon Phases series, which we're doing all sorts of stuff. We're doing tarot spreads, we're doing correspondences, but not just correspondences. You know, what goddess is related specifically to the new moon. So we go and research it and we find out. Note, I don't tell people, I don't teach what I believe. I give people ideas for what to research, and it's up to them to go and do it. So if you've got a book of science rather than a book of shadows, maybe you could look at the scientific side of the phases of the moon and how it works, and you know, why does the moon go dark? Why do we have eclipses? What on earth is all that? You know, get some interested in some astronomy instead of astrology. We do things like working through plans and stuff, and doing tarot cards according to the phase of the moon that we're in. Maybe pull a tarot card and say, okay, for this phase of the moon, what should I be concentrating on? What do I want to concentrate on is an even better question. What do I feel like I need to be doing that allows me to move forward in what I'm already working on? Where did my picture go? That's weird. My picture did something funny there and I don't know why. Hang on. Weird. So yeah, instead of just writing down, oh, this goddess works with the new moon, etc., etc., we're going to draw her. And we're going to draw pictures of her with the correspondences that relate to her. We've also drawn crystals and stuff. And again, people were encouraged to research the crystals they already had, or the crystals that they have that they're drawn to, or the crystal that they wear all the time. You know, a lot of people have a ring or a necklace or something that they wear constantly. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by that. I don't know why it's doing that. It's acting weird. Things are being strange. Anyway, so yeah, that's the kind of things we put in our book of shadows, and it's all stuff that we're working on or looking into. And if it's something that doesn't interest you, I would say don't put it in your book of shadows. What's the point? Why bother? You wouldn't elect to take a class in German cinema if you have zero interest in cinema and even less interest in Germany. You'd go, no thanks, I'm going to go and play sport. You know, choose what interests you and stick to a couple of areas of interest that you know are always going to interest you. If you are very much an out in nature person who likes to potter around their garden and has lots of plants and loves to cook and all that kind of stuff, may I suggest a bit of kitchen witchery where you look at how to dry herbs and how to use various different spices and stuff in your cooking and grow your own herbs and look at earth stuff like we were talking about earlier. Don't just go, oh, tarot, I think I'll go and learn that. Have you got any interest in it? If not, then don't bother. If you have got a passing interest in it, then say, okay, well, I'm going to concentrate on this, but I'll also read about tarot on the side. I don't suggest ever pulling more than 2 or 3 things out at a time and say, oh, I'm going to concentrate on this. Because if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. You either look at things and you learn them and you work with them and you learn how they work and how it works for you and what effect it has on your daily life or your spirituality or your practice or whatever, or you dabble. You can either be the kind of Christian who reads about reads the Bible and studies the Bible and discusses it with other people and goes to church and goes to, you're part of the band and all this kind of stuff. Or you can be just one of those people who turns up for the Christmas service and doesn't think about it the rest of the time. And there's a whole range of things in between. I suggest picking things that really interest you and sticking with it. And go from there. And use your Book of Shadows as your journal of that that progress. I'm a Cancer and I love the moon. How would I start? Well, the first thing you should do is look up Cancer and the ruling planet. The reason I say that I would say that to anybody. If you're a Cancer, the first thing that comes to you is my astrology sign and one thing that I love, then go and look it up, is the first thing I would say. Go and look up everything you can about the sign Cancer. And start with, in this situation, the ruling planet. Because guess what? Guess what the ruling planet of Cancer is? Have a guess. Just try and guess. I think you'll be able to. I'll give you a clue. You've already mentioned it. Yeah. The moon, yeah. So if you're a Cancer, the fact that you start with I'm a Cancer, okay? My astrological sign is one of the most important things about me, and it's one of the most important things that I'm interested in, and I know that because it's the very first thing I talked about. Hello, I'm a Cancer. Okay, so go and start looking up Cancer. You happen to be interested in the moon as well, that's great. The moon rules Cancer, you'll find that out when you start researching Cancer, and therefore you'll start getting into the moon. Maybe you'll branch out into luminaries and do the moon and the sun. And honestly, if you're going to do this one star sign, if you're going to do your sun sign, you might as well just go and do all of them. So if you're interested in astrological signs and planets, I'm thinking you might as well start with astrology. Start with your own chart, look up bits in your chart, find out what it means. Start simple. You're not going to know. I've been studying astrology since 1999 and I still don't know even 1/3 of what's available. And honestly, most of the time I can't remember where my planets are because, again, short-term memory, long-term memory, not so good. So, if what you're looking at is telling you two of the two things I'm looking at are to do with astrology, so I think I'll start reading about astrology to start with. I'm a Taurus and I love the moon, so well, if you love the moon, you love the moon. Look up the moon. Are you saying you're a Taurus because somebody else said they're a Cancer, or are you saying you're a Taurus because Taurus is important to you? If Taurus is important to you, look up Taurus. If it's not important to you, and you just said it because somebody else said, well, I'm a Cancer, then your key thing is, I love the moon, so start with the moon. Lunaphobes. No, we're lunatics, aren't we? Lunatic is somebody who's obsessed with the moon, literally. A lunaphobe would be somebody who doesn't like the moon. Oh, who doesn't love the moon? Lunaphobes. Ha ha! Ba-dum-bum. Shh. You're funny. Okay. I'm going to leave it there because there's not really much more I can say. Hey! Scooby! Scooby! Other than expressing my opinion, and it is always an opinion, if you don't agree, that's fine. Don't argue with me, because I'm not up for an argument. I don't care what you believe. I'm not up for trying to convert people or anything else. You believe what you believe, and that's fine. As long as you're a generally nice and moral person, that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with it. Do what you want. You don't need to sit and argue with me, because I don't care what you believe, and I'm not really interested in you trying to convert me to what you believe. So if you have interesting insights or comments that you would like to bring up and discuss, that's perfectly okay. And that's the kind of stuff we do over on the forum. We all express our different opinions on things, and it gives everybody something to think about. You know, if you only ever hear your own opinion on something, then you're never really challenging your own views. And I think with not challenging your own views comes complacency and dogma. So I think it's good to always challenge what do you really believe, what do you really think, and not just become a Stepford wife and follow what everybody else is doing, because you know, you're late today and catching up. Oh well, I'm just about to stop, Mia, so sorry. But yeah, that's my advice to beginners. How do you start a book of shadow? You open the book and you start writing, and you make it about you. Your book of shadows, or whatever else you call it, should be first and foremost about your spiritual path and your journey and your learning and your understanding. It shouldn't be something that's so beautiful you have to put it on Instagram. In fact, if it's something that's so ugly that you feel inspired to put it on Instagram and say, hey, look, this is my book of shadows and it's not even vaguely pretty, because you think that will inspire other people, then that's great, do it. You sent me an email with a question for Vlogmas. Oh, okay, cool. Yes, I am doing a Q&A on the 23rd. So if you have questions, put them in the comments of one of the videos. I am checking comments. This particular one, how do you start a book of shadows, was yours, wasn't it, Daisy? Wasn't this your question? I believe. This warranted its own video. Because if you're having to ask about how to start a book of shadows, you're not really worried about how to start a book of shadows. What you're worried about is what other people will think of what you're doing with your book of shadows. And the answer is, who gives a flying monkey what anybody else thinks about your book of shadow? As long as you like it, who cares? It's got nothing to do with anybody else. Stop worrying about what other people think of it and just do what you like. And if what you like is writing pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of words, then do it. And if what you like is collecting pages out of magazines that inspire you, that you can meditate on, then do it. And if what inspires you is not keeping a book of shadows at all and just having a file of facts full of herbal remedies, then do it. It's entirely up to you. Don't feel pressured to do what anybody else tells you to do. Unless, caveat, of course, you are a member of a coven, in which case you follow by or abide by your coven's teachings. I'm not going to say rules, because they're very rarely rules, but you follow their way of doing things. And if you're Wiccan, you know, there will be certain things that you will put in your book of shadows before anything else. So there'll be, what do they do, like the invocation of the goddess and god and all that kind of stuff. If you feel that you are Wiccan and you need to put that in your book of shadows because that's what Wiccans do, that's perfectly okay. Go ahead and do it. And then start writing about your spiritual path and what you're doing and how you're doing it. But don't let anybody else make you feel like your book of shadows isn't good enough or is inferior, or, you know, in some cases, some people's books of shadows are so beautiful, you wonder whether they actually know what they've written in them. Do they actually know any of this stuff, or have they just created a beautiful page? Sometimes they do. Some people do know what they're talking about and have created beautiful pages as well. It's perfectly possible to do both. for me, like I say, my Book of Shadows is for working in and learning from and writing down recipes or chants or spells or whatever it is I've done. Did it work? How did it work? Did it work the way I wanted it to? Could I have done something better? Could I have improved it? Could I have changed it? If I tweak it this way, can I work it for something else? You know, that kind of stuff. It's very much like being a cook in a kitchen, coming up with your own recipes. You know, if you took this chocolate cake and added something to it, could you make it a chocolate and cranberry Christmas cake? Chocolate and cranberry Christmas cake sounds very nice, actually. I think I might try that at some point. Hi, Brenda. I'm just about to sign off, so you've missed it. But I've been on for an hour talking about Book of Shadows. It's stuff that you've heard before because you're in class, but... I do mention my classes a lot because I'm a teacher. It's what I do. But you don't have to be on my... You don't have to be in my classes to be on my site. So if you just want to come over and hang out with like-minded people, discuss your own Book of Shadows, discuss your own spirituality, discuss your own journaling or art journaling or whatever it is that you do, your own creativity. If you have no interest in any of it, you just want to learn about totem animals, or, you know, you're actually not witchy at all, you're a Christian and you just want to talk Bible study, and you know, maybe you're getting a Bible journal for Christmas and you don't know what to do with it. Well, come and hang out. We've got a Muggle forum for you too. One of our very distinguished members, Cody, is in charge of the Muggle forum. I don't go anywhere near it because I was raised Catholic, but I don't adhere to any of it anymore. And I certainly never followed Bible study or anything. We didn't do that. So I've put Cody in charge of the Muggle area, which is both specifically for Christians and non-magicals. So if you want to just discuss art or whatever, you're in safe hands. And of course, if you do decide to do a class, all of my classes are very open. They're aimed at, you know, allowing you to discover what it is that you're interested in and what you want to journal about and what you want to make art about and stuff like that. So you don't have to do specifically witchy or pagan or anything like that. You could do, you know, like I said, you could do the science of the moon if that's what floats your boat. Do lunar geology or lunar space exploration or something like that. It's entirely up to you. You can still make art about it. You can still write about it. You can still do interesting things. Is it a Facebook group? No, I'm not on Facebook anymore. I got the right way. There's my place. It's all together on there. Everything to do with me is on RhomanysRealm.org.uk. So my forum, my classes, all my other links, everything I do is over on there. And you are more than welcome to come and hang out with us. No obligation to do anything. Doesn't cost anything, although donations are welcome. Classes obviously paid for. And it's not Facebook, so you don't get lots of housewives complaining about their day. And you don't get lots of political arguments and stuff like that. I don't like Facebook, I'm sorry. I think Facebook brings out the worst in people, so I don't use it. Anything you see on Facebook from me since about March, unless you are a personal friend and I've specifically gone in to comment on something or wish you a happy birthday or whatever, then it was an automatic post from somewhere else. I hang out on Instagram mostly. So if you want to catch me on a daily basis, come and follow me on Instagram at Romany. Just there. Tomorrow morning I will be live on Twitch at Romany. 12 o'clock. Going to work some more on that piece there. That piece there. I paint Cosmic Shiz. That one's called the Christmas Star, so we're going to be having some Christmassy music and probably some mince pies. Instagram is owned by Facebook, yeah, but it was originally separate. I'm not against Facebook as a thing, you know. I don't have one of these, ooh, Facebook's evil things. I just don't like the people who hang out on Facebook. Sorry. And I don't add everybody who's on my Facebook on my Instagram either. I follow, in fact, mostly on Instagram, I follow my students, other creative people that I admire, and dogs. Big, fluffy dogs. They kept wanting me to add all my Facebook people. Yeah, I haven't done that because I've got like 500 people following me on Facebook, and I think about 20 of them I actually know. I turned that off so it stops telling me that. No, I mostly follow fluffy doggos, Samoyeds and pit bulls and German shepherds and little chows because they're so cute and fluffy. And you know, Instagram is my safe haven where I go and chill. I don't have any. Instagram isn't work for me. I post work and creativity and stuff on it, but mostly it's, you know, my Instagram scrolling is for chilling out. Podcasts. I follow podcasts on there as well. Okay, no questions then. No more questions. Yep, all my information is there. It's also in the down bar down there. And if you want to come and hang out, you're welcome to. And Scooby and Maggie, yeah, they're rescues. Maddie, not Maggie. I am Puma. Yeah, I've already got him. Big cats. Big kitties. I've got wolves as well. Tomorrow I'm going to make a start on those planners because I really need to get that one planner off to Risha. And I want to get it out this week or she won't get it. So I need to do that one today. I'm going to go and have a look through it tonight and then do a thing on it tomorrow. So the next 3 days are going to be those Llewellyn's books. And then, so what's that? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hey, baby. Saturday, I might do a journal with me just to break up the talkies. And I could do a video on the doggies, couldn't I? I don't know if I'll be able to get them on camera. Maddie especially doesn't like being on camera. I don't know how she knows the camera's on, but she doesn't like being on camera. Scooby is quite vocal. He'll sit and tell you all about himself. He talks to my mum on FaceTime. It's funny. Just got a Gibbon B6 in the mail. I thought about that one. I did think about that one, but I think a B6 is a little bit too small for me. I'm definitely a moleskin large size girl. What's it called? An A5 Slim? Moleskin large is A5 Slim, I think. And the standard is A5 narrow. Is that right? Yeah. You still keep up with your doggy that moved to the country? I don't hear from the woman who adopted her, sadly. She doesn't contact me. In fact, she used to keep correspondence regularly until she got the go-ahead to adopt her. And I said, yes, it's okay, you keep her. She's doing well with you. I've had one update since then, and then she stopped updating me, so. But, you know, Gypsy's her dog now, so I know she's in good hands. I would like to know how she's getting on. It would be nice if she'd tell me how she's getting on. But at the end of the day, you know, I know she's in good hands, so I don't stress about it. I miss her, but I'm not worried about her. I know Jan takes the best care of all of her dogs. She's got a whole tribe of dogs. She hasn't got just Gypsy. She's got like 6 or 7 of them. And she used to be a police trainer. She used to work for, not police trainer, police dog trainer. She's done dog training classes. She does hikes with her old friends. Oldies with big dogs going for hikes around the wilds of Staffordshire. Yeah, I think she's doing okay. I did After Jan stopped updating me, I did say to her, you know, I appreciate that you've stopped sending updates. That's okay, I get it, because she's your dog now, not mine. But, you know, as and when it comes to the time where she gets ill or she passes or whatever, I'd appreciate if you let me know. But she's 10 this year, so, which is quite old for a German Shepherd. They're usually 10 to 14, they usually last. So, but yeah, as far as I know, she's doing fine. I'm sure Jan would have let me know if there was anything wrong. Hi, baby. Do you want to come up? Come up and say hello to people. Come on. No, she wants snuggles. It's snuggle time. It's 7:45. It's snuggle time, isn't it, baby girl? We've got to go sit in the snuggle chair and have snuggles with Bobby. Do you need snuggles? You're so cute. You are so cute. Oh. Look at that face. She's so cute. You're so cute. Hello, my love. How cute are you? Do you need to snuggle? Do you need 2 snuggles? Huh? Is that what you want? You want snuggles? She wants her snuggles and belly rubs. I must away. Must obey. Yeah, I'm just closing down, Burgess, but you can go and watch later. She's a cutie, isn't she? And she knows it. Right, I'm going. Thanks for joining me. Vlogmas Day 11. Hi, baby. Oh, Auntie Rachel's here, look. Tell Auntie Rachel, what did you think of your peanut butter bones? Miss Maddie. Miss Maddie. Okay, whoops, sorry about that. Miss Maddie. Listen very carefully. Tell Auntie Rachel, did you have a peanut butter bone? Did you? Did you have a peanut butter bone? Did you like it? Would you like another one? You want a peanut butter bone? You do? She does, see? She does. She liked them. Bye.